Hello, welcome to another edition of Bragglands. This is episode 38. And we have a substitute host today because Jimmy is taking care of family obligations for Thanksgiving. And I had something to do myself yesterday and last week while there was no show. And also had some audio issues that I believe has been fixed. So, anyway, right now we well, you've been here before on the Willy Bragg show. I think this is the first time you've been on Bragglands, which
I
you're
believe
still on the
so.
Willy Bragg show. So, Joey, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone, just in case they don't know who you are.
Sure thing. My name is Joey Mulcairn. I'm a freelance journalist, writer, musician, activist in general, jack of all trades, and longtime friend of the man here, Willy Bragg.
Yeah, we've known each other since 2008, I believe, or maybe late 2007, something like that, back in the MySpace days.
Yeah,
Yeah,
time flies.
yes. And MySpace evolved into everybody doing their thing on Facebook and Twittering at this point because I refuse to use the one letter. Because after all, fuck Elon Musk. And let's see. And now looks like everybody's jumping board and hurting Elon Musk financially where he needs to be punched, financially speaking. Algorithms, I'm not using violent rhetoric. Um, and Blue Skies looks like it's the thing these days. So, are you on Blue Sky yet?
I am not actually. One thing that's been on my list though, and I'm going to set one up this Thanksgiving weekend. I wish I had before the show. Now that you mention it.
It's amazing the growth. The growth spurt on Blue Skies is much higher, quicker than it was on Twitter when I got on Twitter officially 2.5 years ago. So, and that was before Elon Musk messed everything up.
Yeah,
But anyway,
Mr. Free Speech.
yeah. Here's the thing: the conservatives will say, I'm glad that Elon Musk is in charge because we got free speech again. Just kind of like, okay, I do believe that prior to Elon Musk, there was a censorship of conservative voices. Elon Musk came in and he went after the liberals and went after the real left. When he took over. So, as I said, he's no free speech absolutist at all. When conservatives say, I'm for freedom of speech, they only mean their own damn freedom of speech. I'm for their freedom of speech too, but I'm for the free speech of the left that a lot of them are not for. Not every one of them, but I'm not going to generalize too much. But they tend to say, well, all leftists. But I'm nuanced and I'm a free thinker. I don't go along with that. Well, they're be conservative, but there are many conservatives that do favor censorship. They invented cancel culture, as far as I'm concerned. But enough of me on my soapbox. So, let's see. So, what's the latest activism thing you're doing these days?
Um, to be honest, I can't say I've been as involved as I should be. My life has gotten pretty busy, but I definitely am very heavily involved and just sympathetic to the activism for Palestine against Israel's ongoing genocide. I'm very sympathetic um, to, just any cause we're going to have to fight for under a second Trump term because it is terrifying, what that could mean for the left. Particularly the trans community, immigrants, everyone will be harmed by his presidency.
Yes, I agree. Apparently you do have an echo now. Even I can hear it on my end that you were wondering about before the show. Somebody mentioned Desert Mantis mentioned it in the in the comment section, chat line here. So, you want to go ahead and try to correct the echo, or
yeah, like take 5 minutes.
Well, I'm trying to think. Do you
Just seeing where I was looking for my microphone because I don't find it anywhere.
Okay, why don't you try to find it real quick, and I could talk to everyone here.
All right, that sounds good.
Okay.
How many now?
Okay.
Sorry.
No problem. Yeah, it happens. I was on a show the other day before yesterday, and I had a slight echo as a guest on the show, but the echo went away. So I had to do this because I had to kid Jimmy about this when she's here, so I'm going to do it again. Deep Dish Jimmy now is live streaming talk show podcast Braggland episodes 38. These words are not equal, and that's the little bot thing that's on Twitch that always shows up when she starts her streams on Twitch. So there you have it. So any luck yet?
No. Sorry about that. Just give me another minute.
Okay, no problem. So anyway, and I've had some audio issues on my computer too, and a lot of the videos came out kind of fried or staticky sounding and going in and out. So, like Desert Mantis, if you can, when we start playing videos, if you don't mind, just let us know that frying sound's still there. I believe I had it fixed. This morning. So hopefully everything will be taken care of and all that. So, all right. Oh, I don't hear an echo.
Oh yeah.
Oh, well, try it again.
Check 1 2 1 2 1 2.
You sound okay from my end. I mean, on my end, I hear you loud and clear, but I heard my voice talking a second ago. Let's see if my voice carries over. Perfect. Okay, we're good. We're definitely good.
All right. Good. Wow. Sounds better.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. Willy is the most interesting MA non of the world. Police often question him just because they find him interesting. Oh, thank you. All right. There is an echo on my end or Joey's end.
Yeah, what I saw was that I just needed to. I tried turning insulation on, but that.
I tell you what, there's still a little bit of an echo, but we can hear you. There's just a little bit of an echo. But while we're playing the material that we'll be sharing, I'll be sharing here. I mean, that I don't think that there should be an echo. The only thing we'll have to worry about is a frying sound from my end. So, and it all appeared to be well this morning. So, let's get started.
Okay.
All right. Peace Dub said there is a little bit of an echo. So
yeah, I turned my mic down a bit.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't. I have a lot of experience doing this. I don't know what the hell's going on. I feel like I'm just.
No.
I feel like I'm just doing a bad parody of myself now.
It needs for this, and
no. You didn't do.
Other countries were able to.
You didn't do anything wrong.
Okay.
So okay. This is from a show called ATP, the Andre and Tire Pistons Network. It's a new online show. They've grown pretty quick in the last few months. They surpassed me, and they have a little over 1,000 subscribers. And they're slightly to my left ideologically, but I like their show. I like Andre. I like Tired Peasants. And they had me on the what was it, Monday? Yeah, Monday. They had me on the show, and it was called Tea Time, where they interview people on what is called Tea Time, and here I am on their show, and Tired Peasants decided to share a little bit of a crisis that she found online, well, just checking online on her phone, and just thought I'd share this with you all, and then share with the story. Start with that story.
Kind of pulled through better because they've had health care for everyone for decades. So they were naturally prepared for a pandemic in ways that we weren't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Before we continue, this news popped up right here. This is not a joke. Is anyone having butterball turkeys for Thanksgiving for Colonizer Day? Anyone?
I'm doing a drunk stream perhaps on Thanksgiving.
Nice.
Yeah, and I was going to go and I was going to go and get something from, I don't know, Bob Evans or Cracker Barrel, bring it home and do my drunk stream. That was the plan. So
that sounds good. Don't get Butterball, because Butterball company workers that mass produce up to 50,000 turkeys, they just discovered that they've been accused of sexually assaulting the turkeys.
Oh.
Hey, send that to me.
Yeah. I'm sending that to you right now.
What in the world? Oh yeah. Now well, when I have turkey, I get mine organic, which is very expensive. So
I send it to the commies, Red Couch, and the real OGs because I can't find you on there. I don't know why it didn't pop up, but I just sent it. Yeah.
okay.
I sent it to you. The men are sexually assaulting the turkeys at Butterball, and it was caught on video.
Oh God. Yeah,
Wow.
I'm glad I don't eat butterball turkey. Oh
Yeah,
God. No.
Yeah. The last time I ate butterball turkey was last year. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Man.
I know the turkey I get at Denny's occasionally. It's not butterball.
Yeah, men are sexually assaulting the turkeys.
Ouch. Yeah.
Might have to talk about that on my show tomorrow. Well,
yeah.
Actually, I might have I do another show called Bragglands, and I co-host that with Jimi Sunderland, and we may have an additional topic to add to the show tomorrow too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm retweeting it.
Yeah, that's wow. I mean, I have to read it first and get my comment. All I can say about that is like, just don't eat butterball, guys.
No butterball.
No Butterball turkey. You don't know what you might find.
Yeah.
Man, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Hey.
Okay, yeah. So, what do you think about the butterball turkey situation?
Well, I mean, my first question is, were the turkeys alive or dead when it was happening? Because if they were alive, that's like animal torture. But I mean, either way is pretty fucked up. I'm not one to defend necrophilia either.
Yeah, I totally agree. Can you turn it just a little bit louder? Because I think I'm having trouble hearing on your end.
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to get rid of the echo.
Okay. We could put up with a little bit of echo, I think.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Okay.
So,
yeah. It is fucked up. Whether it's animal rape or animal necrophilia, that's way too wrong.
Yeah, for real. I mean, the whole, I'm not a vegetarian, but I do have a lot of respect for vegetarians and vegans who have an ethical commitment to not eating meat, because factory farming, the whole meat industry is really fucked up. And, I mean, I personally don't have the stomach for hunting, but honestly, a hunter who just kills a deer and then just uses it to feed their family is probably less unethical than most of the factory farming industry. So it doesn't really surprise me there'd be fucked up shit going on there.
Yeah. I don't have the stamina to go, shooting animals, even for even for innocuous reasons like to eat and survive or whatever. I know other people are killing these animals, but professionally and all that. But I just don't have the stamina myself to do this. However, I respect vegetarians and I respect vegan. I just can't, for the life of me. If I was a vegetarian, I could not give up my eggs. I could not give up my milk. I could not give up my cheese or my butter or anything like that. And I don't think that those who are in the mainstream of the vegetarian movement that will eat, butter, milk, butter, dairy, that sort of thing. I don't think that, or eggs or what have you. I don't think that they're doing anything per se wrong. I mean, but I just think that maybe, and those who can do the vegan, they have my admiration. I just don't think I could do it. Probably the only good thing about it is I would lose some weight. Because I would be severely limited to what I can eat.
Yeah, I mean, I was briefly a vegetarian, but I was a very unhealthy vegetarian because I was essentially a vegetarian that didn't eat vegetables. I lived in New York and I would just live off pizza slices and bagels for a while, and eventually I just realized that was not very sustainable. But like, I used to joke I was basically on a gluten-only diet between that and beer.
Yeah, I could not. And that's a great way to get type 2 diabetes pretty early too.
True.
Yeah, so one has to be careful and everything. I have never been officially a vegetarian, but I do. When I was in college, just to impress the girls in the art department, I would try to be a vegetarian for a while, and these days I do cut back on meat during Lent, but that's about as much as I do these days as far as vegetarianism is concerned. But I personally can't give up steak and burgers and bacon and
me neither.
Yeah, that just I mean, for those who can, great. I just can't.
Yeah, so, same here. I love a nice New York strip steak with a glass of red wine. Yeah.
Oh God, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and play the next video clip. I'm not going to play it all. It's a little long. It's Shoe on Head, and I've always adored her. Sometimes she takes positions that I don't necessarily agree with, but I adore her just the same.
America, one of the most consequential elections in.
Okay, let me make sure. Let me fix the speed here real quick. There's a reason I have to get it kind of fast right now. Okay.
I thought he was just doing his Walter Cronkite impression. This is the most important election in history, or just some old Centaurian newsman.
Oh gosh, the most important election in your lifetime. Yeah, one gets tired of hearing politicians and media people saying this sort of thing.
Yeah, but, for real.
We'll let Shoe on Head talk about this election and we'll talk about it afterwards. So let me go ahead and get started here.
Election night in America, one of the most consequential elections in recent history.
Donald Trump has won the presidential election in Kentucky,
Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, and Oklahoma. Missouri will go to Donald Trump.
It's clear now that Donald Trump has picked up key support among Hispanic voters, despite all the things that he said.
Donald Trump will win the state of North Carolina.
That the state of Georgia will go to former President Donald Trump.
The evening was getting increasingly somber as people realize what this map is looking like.
CNN projects that Donald Trump will win the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Kamala Harris is not winning.
So you won't hear from the vice president tonight?
News Decision Desk can now officially project that Donald Trump will become the 47th president of the United States.
Do you really think that the Democratic Party is fighting for you? The overwhelming answer is no.
Yep. And Bernie Sanders seems to be making a little bit of noise lately, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. So we'll listen to what Shoe on Head has to say about this election here.
Well, well, well. What have we learned? Nothing, apparently. I regret to inform you, everything I predicted about the election in my last video came true, and more. Men did overwhelmingly turn out for Trump, especially young men. But I was wrong about one thing. Young men weren't the only ones who came out in droves for Trump. Nearly everyone did. The madman took everything, every swing state, Pennsylvania, Georgia, my home state, New York, was closer to flipping red than Florida was to flipping blue. Turns out Dick Cheney as brat wasn't the best message to win over voters. Dems did so bad it really had me thinking, damn, did we steal that election? So what happened here? How did it go so wrong? Is it too late for the Democratic Party, or can they turn this around? Will the Democrats learn from this, or will they double down and get worse? In this video, I'm going to go through all the excuses and the copes the Democrats and the broader left are coming up with to avoid accountability. Read some silly tweets, watch some silly news clips, and even give the Democratic Party some advice on how to win 2028. Don't worry, Republicans watching this. They won't listen. Maybe in 2050, under the barren Trump monarchy, someone might come to their senses, but not anytime soon. If you only watched or read most mainstream liberal news, it really seemed like Kamala had this in the bag, which is why you should try to get your news from a variety of different sources. Oh, that reminds me. Before we dive into this election dissection, let's give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, a sponsor I've been working with for over 4 years now, Ground News.
That's a little commercial there.
Maniac launches unprovoked after allegedly a stabbing spree in Manhattan that left 2 dead and 1 injured. This left-wing outlet says, man arrested after alleged stabbing spree in Manhattan that left 2 dead, 1 injured. This right-wing outlet says, 2 dead, 1 critically injured in Manhattan as knife-wielding maniac launches unprovoked stabbing spree. I have been using Ground News since 2021 and I am just obsessed with this app. It is a great and easy way to stay informed, plus it really helps me see how both sides frame the same story so differently. Best of all, for Black Friday I am offering 50% off their Vantage plan, which is the plan I use to access all their amazing features. This is their biggest discount of the year, so go to ground.news/shoe, use the QR code here on the screen, or use the link in the video description down below and subscribe today for only $4.16 repeating per month. I personally think what they're doing is very important because it helps approach the news in a more balanced and transparent way, and I feel like we really need that nowadays. So thank you, Ground News, for sponsoring this video, and thank you, the viewer, for not skipping the ad. Right? And now let's get back to this election dissection, shall we?
There's no point in saying good morning, because it certainly is not one.
From blaming the American people to blaming Joe Rogan, the Democrats and the media are having a hard time coping with their loss, and I don't blame them. It was a pretty big loss. Embarrassing, quite frankly. Donald Trump overperformed in nearly every state, with basically every demographic, and the entire country seems to be shifting more red. Everyone was so sure dangerous, devious, dastardly Donald would never make his way back into the White House to steal democracy. And he did it. With democracy. Anyway, I got a lot of comments on my last video from new fags like, wait, you're left-wing and you hate the Democrats? Yeah man, that's a pretty common thing. If you were shocked that I'm left-wing, maybe that's a sign you need to take a step back and evaluate some of the preconceived stereotypes you have of people. Not all of us are crazy blue-haired socialists, no. Some of us are crazy brown-haired socialists. But for those of you who are new here, hello, I am Shoe on Head. If you ask the right wing, I am Stalin. If you ask the left wing, I am Hitler. Fiscally far left, culturally centrist, socially retarded. But if you really must put me in a box, it's not that hard to pin me down. I'm a populist. Think Huey Long if he was a 5'3" Italian New Yorker woman, who still did her hair and makeup like it was 2008. Put a pin in that Huey Long name, by the way. He's gonna come up later. I grew up in the 90s and the 2000s. My political awakening was jibjab.com. The first time I voted for Obama. I was ready for that hope and change. Instead, we got the crushing of Occupy Wall Street and more drone strikes. And from there, it only got worse. I voted for Bernie in the primaries in 2016, and I watched as the Democratic Party did everything in their power to destroy this man, twice. So it is safe to say I am a little biased when it comes to the Democratic Party, but I don't think I've hated them more than I do right now. The truth is, my last video was way meaner and way harsher than the final product turned out to be. When I showed the video to my assistant, he basically had an intervention with me and he was like, listen, you need to soften this up a bit. It's a few days before the election. You went too hard. Well, the election is over. And I'm sorry, River, but I'm going hard. You idiots. You morons. You imbeciles. Kamala Harris? Really? That's who you threw up there? The one who dropped out before Iowa? The one who got blown the f*** out by Tulsi Gabbard? Why didn't you hold a primary? Aren't you the f***ing saviors of democracy? Where the f*** was the democracy? Oh, big congratulations to Tim Walz on being the first white male DEI hire. It didn't f***ing work. The DNC completely neutered that guy, reduced him to this weird token white man. Hello, fellow men, I too play football. But hey, men weren't the only demographic you completely dropped the ball with. Trump made incredible gains with women, too. Oh, and all those never-Trumpers you tried to court, the people who like the old, respectable GOP. You know, the old, respectable GOP that led us into a pointless war that cost us trillions of dollars and millions of lives. But we're at least nice on Twitter. That GOP. Yeah, they didn't come out and vote for your ass either. So you got Liz Cheney to tag along for what? For f***ing what? You raised $1 billion and ended up $20 million in debt? Where the hell did all that money go? Maybe you should have blown it all on celebrity appearances that did nothing. Or maybe it was spending 6 figures on a single-use set for the Call Her Daddy podcast that didn't even hit 1 million views. I want to see a full audit of this campaign, because I wouldn't be surprised if this was all like a big money laundering scheme, because honestly, that makes more sense than this being a legitimate presidential campaign. Then, they had the audacity to beg their supporters for money after she lost. How about you? How about every DNC consultant should have this map sewn onto the inside of their eyelids? May they never have a peaceful wink of sleep for the rest of their miserable lives. So that is how I feel about the whole situation.
How do you feel about the situation?
I mostly agree, I think, you know. I mean, I think that the Democrats cynically pandered to moderate Republicans, which is a constituency that barely even exists, and to the extent that they do exist, they're concentrated in wealthy suburbs in solid blue states and a few in solid red states. I mean, I think the Harris campaign, the first month out of the gate, was actually pretty solid. You know, I was excited about the Tim Walz VP pick, and I thought that he was actually going to break with Biden. And, you know, I thought the attack they ran out against Republicans, that people like Jimi Vance are just weird. I thought that was brilliant. But then, you know, after the convention, I almost felt like, you know, a battered wife that was told, you know, this time it'll be different. Because right after the convention, they started cynically pandering to moderate Republicans. They started campaigning with Liz Cheney, and you know, even at the convention, Harris spent all of her time highlighting cops and just pointing out how she was just as bad on immigration as Trump. I mean, basically just as harsh. And you know, it turns out that if you run a Republican white campaign and you call the Republicans fascist, yet adopt all of their, you know, fascist policies just with a smile on your face, that's going to, you know, make people vote for the real thing.
Yeah, when it comes to this election, and let's see, somebody's saying turn the computer mic off. Do you have the computer mic off?
Oh, that was the issue. Yeah, hang on a sec.
How about now? There's a mute. You're muted. Let's see. How about now? Turn it back on. Can you turn it back on? Hold on. Hold on a second here. Let me put it on private chat in the meantime. Turn on mic. There we go. All right. Oh boy. Okay. Let me let him know what's going on here. Hopefully hold on a second here. We'll sort this out. let's see here. We'll do a little troubleshooting real quick. Let's see. Turn on mic. Okay. Hopefully, I'm gonna turn on mic. I'm sorry, folks. We'll get this. We're trying to fix this thing here. Okay, let me try this again. Oh, okay. Okay. All right. I gotcha. Okay, private chat. Sign. Okay. Let's see. Hopefully. Thanks, Warren. Hopefully this will take care of the situation. Okay. Stream yard. Yeah. Can you hear me now? I can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. I was told to sign out of StreamYards and come right back in. That might solve the problem.
All right, we'll do.
Okay. All right. Okay. Sorry about that. Technology. So yeah, audio is an SOB for short. Yeah, absolutely. How are you doing, Warren? I'm doing good. And Miguel, how are you doing today? Yeah, we're trying to work on that animals. We are. I don't know. I mean, I'm having better situation with the audio, but still running across some issues here. So hopefully Joey will be back very, very soon. And we have a couple other stories that we'll be sharing here while we're doing this. Technology, you know how it is, for damn sure. So anyway, how's everyone tonight? I hope everybody's got some plans for Thanksgiving and however they want to celebrate it. Max RJ, how are you doing? Let's see. Even if you go obsolete, I'm going to watch you on the chat. Technology has its limitations. Yeah, it can at times. So how's everybody? Celebrating their Thanksgiving or their day off tomorrow? Because for some it is historically an issue, and I totally get that. So let me do this real quick here. Okay, all right, let me do this. I have a feeling I know what's going on. Okay, just give me 2 seconds here. I got to take care of something real fast. Warren, thank you for the advice on the situation here with the audio. The videos apparently are running well. So let me see. We'll do this here. Hopefully the message will be received. Come on. Okay. All right. Oh, wait a minute. Never mind. Okay, how's the audio now?
Sounds like there's still a bit of an echo. I'll just try to speak slow and clearly.
Okay, I can hear you. You could just just crank up the volume a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
I don't think that's the issue. The level. Try it now. I hear a little echo in my background, but that's okay.
Gabba gabba hey.
Gabba gabba hey. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I'm having a live stream tomorrow afternoon too, right?
Oh, for Thanksgiving, cool.
Yeah, at 2:00. 2:00. That's what I'm doing. So, yeah, I'm doing that with an old friend of mine. So, we're going to go and do live stream together and everything.
Apologies to everyone for the technical issues.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. You should have seen the second person, I believe. Or was it the first person? It was Dwight. I don't know if he was the first or the second person. We had major audio issues that day when trying to get this sort of thing. This is like back in 21. So lots happened since 2021.
Occupational hazard, I suppose.
Yeah. So we will do the next story, and basically Vosh contradicting himself. He's basically telling the Amazing Atheist and Paul and TJ's brother Scotty how full of shit they were prior to the election, and now he's sort of having buyer's remorse on his rhetoric about what he thought prior to the election. So we'll go ahead and play it. We'll play it and comment on it.
Online, zero grass touching media bubble onion. This is straight up online, zero grass touching media bubble onion nuggets. Do we need to force the turkey meme if it doesn't land on the goddamn turkeys? It lands on the other black one. It is so politics. Wait. It is so politics shit every time we spin this mother. But we can't get the goddamn irascible turkeys. Turkey shit. What the bro? Dude, this is horse shit. I'm on strike.
Paul's striking. Damn, bro. Scotty left. Paul left. I'm the only one here, man. Irascible. Maybe Vosh is the real irascible turkey. You ever think of that? Chat, vote for no politics.
Definitely.
The wheel has spoken, man. Just do the rat now. The wheel must be what's the point of the wheel if we just defy the wheel? The wheel must be obeyed. The wheel must be obeyed.
I saw this as well, and this tweet is like the tweet here is making fun of it, not like showcasing it in an affirmative or positive sense. But
breaking news: President Biden signs bill forcibly breaks up the strike of Mr. Paul Parkey.
I commented on this. I said, why is it that there are so many like tender queer organizing pamphlets that look like they were drawn for and by 5-year-olds?
Okay, can we pause? What the fuck is a tender queer?
I don't know. It's the first time I've heard the term.
I've heard it thrown around, but only in his community or like Destiny's community or whatever.
All right, I'm looking it up.
Somebody tell me what the fuck a tender queer is.
I'm looking it up. Tender queer. The soft boy of the queer community. Okay. Urban Dictionary. Typically a queer white hipster who uses identity politics to avoid accountability, competitive oppression, and self-victimization, centralizes themselves and their feelings in social political movements that aren't about them. Okay. There you go.
Okay.
Someone else understand what, like, it's very, isn't that a little bit like infantilizing? Have you noticed that? Where there's this like,
so you're really gonna make fun of how this looks too childish for you when you're Mr. like Paul is stuck in Sasuke's brother, the Genjutsu's, whatever the.
But he doesn't read books and he doesn't watch movies and he doesn't listen to music. So where's he supposed to get references that aren't anime?
Yeah, shitty anime that no one, people do like, but no one should like.
Yeah, but
the Genjutsu. Somehow that's okay and worthy of reference, but this cover here is too childish.
Guaranteed this dude hasn't genuinely and legitimately cracked a book since college.
One thing that people need to understand that nobody wants to acknowledge because saying it out loud makes them worry that they'll be judged for being like stupid or whatever. Nobody reads books. Nobody does. The whole book industry is like kept up by whales.
And doesn't watch movies by his own profession, hates music, thinks it's pointless to talk about and discuss. So where's he going to get references from, bro?
Anime.
Like SpongeBob, Sasuke, The Wiggles. You know what I mean?
What's
just all the
Wiggles?
shit. All the shit he grew up watching, you know?
Okay.
I don't know if it's Tumblr necessarily, but this looks like it's for a 5-year-old, but this is meant to be for adults. This would not motivate me to overthrow capitalism, I guess, is what I'm saying.
A lot of us look at your stream.
What would motivate you to overthrow capitalism, Vosh?
A lot of us look at Vosh stream and go like, man, this sort of thing is supposed to be for adults, but it's not attracting them, my dude.
Got my proper sweater. Also, just got up. What I miss?
Proper sweater.
Missed boogie.
Boogie.
Different strokes for different folks, but like this is literally just like drawn for 5-year-olds. We're talking about political organizing here. We're not talking about like.
Or are we?
You know,
I thought we were talking about
art
vote for the lib and eschew all the political organizers.
Yeah.
Except I guess we are, because one of the things here are some things that you can do as a community member to resist individualism and the destruction of community solidarity. So I want to talk for a second, if I may, because I think.
Okay. You may.
You may.
You may indeed.
Yes. Please do.
Yeah, you got to trust liberals for this stuff. I mean, it sucks that you have to, but like, you know, blame lefties. Based on your debate, this is exactly what the Deep Fat Fried podcast wants for their political movements. They're like a perfect example of the rot that I'm describing. Vosh, what do you suggest? What I said, work with liberals. Meet them. Your function is to subscribe and become a Pessimist Productions patron. Enjoy live streams of Onion Nuggets every week, new Deep Fat Fried episodes every Saturday, and other shows such as Abandon Hope, Hydology, You're Wrong, Fighting Boys, and more. Click the link Meet thing. Submit your flesh to my will.
Let's see what we got here. Here's some things you can do as a community member to resist individualism, which I don't really want to. I like some individualism. And the destruction of community solidarity. Okay. Well, not really my goals, but whatever. Create a local group where you can share ideas and create support for people who need help. Okay. Mutual aid, fundraisers, stitching bitch. I don't know what that is. I'm assuming that's like sewing circle shit, maybe.
Probably.
Yeah. Radical reading club, radical art, radical zines, radical theater. Make some radical shit.
Yeah.
Community gardening. So start a community garden. Make some music. Do some art exhibitions.
Basically,
get to know your neighbors.
Do something creative that fulfills some sort of micro purpose towards fixing a problem you see in society. So go get your hands in the dirt.
Community fridges. So basically, like do things.
Do
some
get your hands
communal
in the
shit.
dirt.
Okay.
Yeah, don't sit back and catastrophize online. Go get your hands in the dirt. Of course, Vosh hates this.
It fits in the same category because it's also about learned helplessness, just in a different way.
I think learned helplessness.
I'd say learned helplessness is sit at home bitching on the internet nonstop forever.
Yeah, this seems like
that would be more learned helplessness in my book. But
yeah, these are all concrete actions people could take.
Joey, do you sometimes get the impression that Vosh is basically the Jordan Peterson of the dirtbag left in hipster attire?
Well, I honestly almost think that might just be giving him too much credit in a way. I mean, I think he's just, you know, an overly pedantic troll and provocateur who doesn't really understand leftist theory that well, and yet claims to be an expert and trashes everyone else. And I have to say, I found this clip to be really refreshing because I think that it reminded me of what I used to love so much about The Amazing Atheist back in the late 2000s, in the early era of YouTube, because I feel like, you know, I didn't agree with him on everything either, but he was...
Yeah, same. I didn't agree with him on every point, but he hasn't changed, but and I'll say not changed for the better. For the most part, I don't agree with everything TJ has to say, but nor do I agree with Paul and all of them. But they are onto something that Vosh seems to miss the point. I don't think that Vosh is paid by the FBI or the CIA to infiltrate BreadTube. I just think that Vosh is he's a shit lib that fallen in love with the aesthetics of being on the quote unquote far left, but he just comes across as a Democrat, just a Democrat's Democrat. That's what to me he comes across as.
Sorry, did you have anything to add?
No, that's it. That's what.
Because I was just going to say, I find I also think that Vosh is just an example of someone who's just extremely online and completely out of touch with people. And I think The Amazing Atheist exposed that so well, because I mean, I know the term genderqueer because I am someone who identifies as queer and I am a leftist, but I also recognize there's literally only 100 people in the world who know that. And you know, I just was laughing at Vosh saying, "Oh, you're a tender queer," and just how they were correctly pointing out how fucking ridiculous this is, because, you know, the people, you know, sending out this flyer, they're actually, you know, trying to do something good in their community. They're trying to build community solidarity, which is the first step to building any sort of leftist movement. And Vosh just instantly trashes it just because he doesn't like the aesthetics of the poster. And one thing I also found refreshing about TJ and that other guy is that, you know, they to me are like, you know, remnants of an earlier era, because they're obviously very much kind of bro-y like guys, but they're not just going to just immediately take, you know, just be like knee-jerk misogynist and make fun of the queers like a lot of Rogan's audience does, because they're the ones who would just reflexively make fun of like a poster because it looks too feminine or has too aesthetics or what have you. But like The Amazing Atheist, I feel like he is a remnant of an era in which people were less brain poisoned, in a way, in which, you know, we live in an era now in which people's entire identities are completely consumed to their politics, and honestly, no one is more guilty of that than the right and, you know, the whole bro culture. And I think, you know, The Amazing Atheist is just a refreshing throwback to that. And I love how he just pokes fun at Vosh for just being this out of touch nerd, which honestly doesn't even sound too different from Rogan or I guess you know, to your point, Jordan Peterson, but he doesn't even have like the level of skills that those guys have. He's just, you know, he's just a pedantic nerd, I mean, you know, who, you know, is just a cynic and a loud, and, yeah, this was a fun video to watch.
Yeah, there are times I can listen to Vosh and agree with basically a hard 80 to 85, maybe 90% of what he has to say. It's that 20, 15, and 10% cringe that ruins it for him. And what was the term? Genderqueer, I believe that's the term. I've heard it previously uttered by Keffels, maybe about a year or maybe 7 to 8 months back or something. I was listening to what she had to say, and she threw that term around. I was like, "What the hell is that term?" So, because I mean, this is like the second time. Now that you brought it up, that's the second time I've heard it from Vosh uttering it here. I mean, and so you know, there's a lot of phrases I guess I'm a little bit behind on myself. What can I say? I'm an old. Just an old man, so, but
honestly, I would say you're not missing much with a lot of these terms. Like I said, probably 100 people tops in the world even give a shit about them.
Yeah, sometimes some things can get so obscure and that it's beyond me and all that. So, but yeah, with Vosh, the Vosh, anytime somebody wants to do something provocative to strategy wise or to go and to be a wrecking ball to the system in the way that it needs to be, he takes a shit on it. I mean, I'm surprised that he was for Bernie in both primaries, and I'm not the Bernie bro that I used to be. But here's the thing, you know, like for example, Force the Vote. I mean, he just craps on everybody who supported Force the Vote. Like, for example, I don't know if you ever saw the video where Brianna Joy Gray had him on the show, and I mean, he was just an asshole. He was just, you know, of course, I tend to I tend to think that anybody who attacks her, I tend to be very pissed off because I'm like, why attack? People take exception into going in, and people go out of their way to attack Brianna Joy Gray, and it just drives me crazy when they do. So, but that's beside the point here. But Vosh, I mean, he's in his little online ivory tower, and he can't relate to the real world. I mean, and that's basically what I'm saying. So, see how much of this there is in here. I guess we can play a few more minutes and comment on Bosch and go to the next story.
All right, cool.
That this also needs to be relegated to the dustbin of history, and by this I mean, what would they call it? Tourist activism? There's a better term for it than that. There's a better term.
Oh, yeah, got it. Yeah, why does Vosh always find a way to oppose leftist direct action? You ever notice that?
Because it's tourist shit, bro.
It's always, you're just a tourist. Don't join a radical reading club instead of just sitting around and watching me. Don't join a community gardening project or volunteer at a food bank.
Just watch Vosh, my guy.
Yeah.
Don't waste your money on all that shit. Waste your money on the Voosh.
Yeah, and vote for the lib. Why do we always find Vosh on the wrong side of every leftist? This is basic leftism, by the way. What can I do? Join a group of like-minded people and start making waves in your community. That's what this says.
Yeah.
Vosh has a problem with that. We need to throw that in the dustbin of history.
You're a tourist, though.
In favor of slacktivist voting, like he prescribed for the last 8 years. Cool.
Like, it's when you're engaging... No, not slacktivism necessarily, but or hobbyism. I think it's hobbyist or hobbyist activism is what I'm thinking of, where you want to do things, but you also want to feel like you're being politically effective.
So activism must be the perfect form of it, or it is irrelevant.
If you go and spend 10 hours a week volunteering at a food bank, you are being politically effective. You stupid tampon of a man.
A hobbyist. Yeah, Vosh, I'll see you out there
Eating
doing that shit.
hungry is politically successful. Face and a number of other things on this list. Why are you off and sit in your DX racer chair and look at fashion shit all day land, mother? Is that bringing about the revolution? Is that giving somebody something to do other than rub their hands together and worry about the camps you've been gaslighting people into believing that are coming? You'd rather them sit around and do nothing. Then let me just find one. Get to know your neighbors. Wow. That needs to go in the dustbin of history.
This get to know your neighbors shit needs to be relegated to
right
the
there.
dustbin
You
of
feed
history.
people for 10 hours a week.
Into community protest.
Hobbyist.
Dustbin of history, man. Volunteer. Dustbin of history. Create a local group where you can share your ideas with that. Retardism. Don't do that.
You tourists, do hobbyists.
Fundraiser. What is this? Fundraisers? Who needs funds? Fuck
Vosh
you.
does.
Yeah, he doesn't have a problem with that fundraiser. The ongoing fundraiser that is the Vosh channel. Help me buy 25 alpaca sweaters. Got a problem with that one. Fuck this idiot, dude.
That what you're doing is...
If you think that's pretty epic, if you think that's pretty epic, you have to have heard Peter Coffin's take on Vosh over Vosh's fetish with horses.
Wow.
Peter Coffin burned him a new asshole. I mean, it's like a 3-hour video, but man, I know Peter Coffin's like old school to a lot of folks, but I still listen to him. And he was burning a new asshole into Vosh. And I mean, being all into the horses and anime kids. I mean, again, that's pretty damn sick.
That makes me think of this guy back in 2010, Paladino, who was running for governor of New York. And at one point, one of his staffers denied that he had like porn on his laptop or something. And which was something he hadn't even been accused of, and it's just funny when people admit to things like that. He was a clown. He was kind of a bad Trump knockoff from Buffalo.
I remember him. I remember that guy. He was a fucking asshole. I remember him.
Yeah.
Nutcase. I actually think he was I think he was more like a Ron DeSantis before there was a Ron DeSantis, but not as dapper looking. I think that probably would describe him a little more accurately, what have you. He didn't have the comedy that dumbasses like Trump provides. I mean, whatever we may think of Trump, there is a level of comedy that someone like a Ron DeSantis and Palladino, that was his name in New York.
Carl Palladino.
Yeah, I almost forgot about that motherfucker. I remember seeing him. I was just like, oh gosh, this guy, you know?
Yeah,
absolutely. So, yeah, and as I said, I tried being open-minded about Vosh, and I just can't. I can't take him seriously ever. I mean, about the only time I would cheerlead Vosh, I've cheerleaded Vosh twice I can think of. One, his Twitter battle with J.K. Rowling. I'm definitely on Vosh's side there. And I cheerlead Vosh when he and Anna Kasparian were going at it. I always refer to her as a birthing person. And she's hit it down in Dave Rubin's lane, it sounds like these days. So I'm definitely not feeling guilty about talking smack about Anna Kasparian now.
Yeah, I would say, if anything, she owes Dave Rubin an apology because she's basically following in his footsteps, you know. I mean, in 2028, they're probably going to be sharing a box at the Republican National Convention and just friends again, both on the far right.
I've actually joked about this because we definitely know where Dave Rubin is now. There's still debate about Jimmy Dore, but Jimmy Dore is a leftist compared to Dave Rubin in many ways still. Is she going to go make nice with Jimmy Dore now after all these years of those two clashing?
Yeah, who knows? Yeah. I mean, really, I think the best things to ever come out of the Young Turks are people like Kyle Kalinske and Benny Carolla and, of course, Hassan Hiker. But everyone else, I feel like that's a network that just inspires people to develop brainworms and just go in completely idiotic directions. And I mean, honestly, maybe we shouldn't even be surprised. I mean, fucking Cenk Uygur literally named it after, the genocidal group in Turkey. And then he picked an Armenian as his co-host. I mean, that's the thing about Anna Kasparian. She was literally a DEI hire.
Well, the Armenian church says that she's not allowed to partake in mass until she leaves the Young Turks. They're definitely pissed with her.
Yeah, that's understandable. It's like, imagine if there was a German podcast called Das Brown Shirts, and you had like a former Holocaust denier and a Jewish co-host. That's basically what the Young Turks is.
Yeah. The analogy is there. Is definitely there, and all of that. Yeah, and the Young Turks certainly have gone downhill for many years. Between Forced to Vote and the little brouhaha, it started with her attacking Aaron Maté, her and Shank attacking Aaron Maté for the Gray Zone on the air, and then it became a Jimmy Dore TYT thing, and I'm not into the Kyle Kalinske the way I used to be. Classic Kyle I like. The new Kyle, he's a little bit more mainstream these days, but I always said that Kyle convinced me to start this channel too, so I can't take that away from him. But he was pulled into the middle of that fight, and they fired him over. I think they fired him from the Young Turks over this shit, and both Jimmy Dore and Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uygur were basically telling Kyle "fuck off" for many years, and it was just like, how the hell he get himself stuck in the middle of that? They didn't go after the other. They didn't go after Michael Figueredo, or they didn't go after some of the other folks. They were affiliated with the network at the time. So,
and one thing I'll add too, which the Vanguard recently had a really good interview on this with a guy who used to work for the Young Turks and was attempting to unionize the staff, and it talked about Senk's union busting effort, and just for a guy who used to claim to be the home of progressive media, the voice of the people, that just shows such glaring hypocrisy.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of Kyle, we do have a Kyle video.
All right.
It's new Kyle, unfortunately, on the downside. But he's still, I still think what he had to say is relevant here. So, let's see. It's basically MAGA threatens war on International Criminal Court for Israel. So, and here we go.
I'm sure you all heard by now. The International Criminal Court has finally issued the arrest warrant for Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, I think it's Netanyahu, I think it's Gallant, and then there's also some top Hamas officials as well who are responsible for orchestrating October 7th, who are on that list. To be fair, I don't know how many of them are still alive, right? Like, Yahya Sinwar is dead. I don't know how many of them are still alive, how many of them were directly involved with October 7th. But this was the move from the International Criminal Court to be like, hey, look, we're not like taking sides. We're just being fair and objectively applying the law. And I'm sorry, Netanyahu. I'm sorry, Gallant. You guys very wantonly violated international law, committing war crime after war crime on a daily basis. So look, it's a good day. Just seeing that at least there's some attempt to get accountability is great. Because my biggest fear is we really do just completely and utterly scrap this idea of international law. That we're, right back to the primitive times of might makes right, and that's the end of the conversation. I do not want to live in that kind of a world, and neither should you. You should want accountability. You should want justice. You should want there to be consequences for horrific actions. And Israel has been killing Palestinian civilians relentlessly on a daily basis and starving them, and it just started to feel like nothing's going to change and nobody's going to be held accountable. And that is a worst-case scenario. Right? Because then how can you turn around and in good faith say, Vladimir Putin is violating international law by illegally invading Ukraine? It's like, I agree with that, but you also have to hold our allies to the same standards, or that has no punch when you say it about Russia and Vladimir Putin. Okay, so you're not going to be surprised to learn Joe Biden released a statement calling it outrageous. It's outrageous that you think the law applies to us and our allies. How dare you? And the Republicans, unsurprisingly, because this is what Republicans do, they're going even further. It's not enough for them to say, like Biden did, like, this is bogus and outrageous. We disagree with this. No, they have to go further. Here's Lindsey Graham. Listen to this.
So to any ally, Canada, Britain, Germany, France, if you try to help the ICC, we're going to sanction you.
Well, that means I want every ally. And you saw little Justin in Canada and his position. What should the penalty be?
We should crush your economy because we're next.
What an amazing admission.
You heard what he said. We're next, referring to Lindsey Graham and all the other gang of neocon war criminals, and that's really what it comes down to, in my view. And I love the ICJ. I love the fact that they give Sean Hannity and Lindsey Graham, mental stress. So, what's your take on this so far? Oh, you're muted. Hold on. For some reason. Oh. Okay, you're back.
Okay. Yeah. So, I only caught the second half of that clip. Sorry, my laptop crashed, but I would say that, yeah, I fully support the International Court of Criminal Justice, and ideally Netanyahu would spend the rest of his life in a padded room. Fuck Lindsey Graham. I think, this shows me the stunning hypocrisy of how Trump was able to spin the idea that he was somehow anti-war, which is laughable, and it's always been laughable. I mean, you know, obviously Kamala's embrace of Liz Cheney was terrible, but Trump is no better, and if anything, is worse. And I think the whole Republican Party is, and and Lindsey Graham, you know, anything he says, I tend to think is a lie. So, including end and as Willy and Herman once said. So, but I support the ICJ.
Yeah, I absolutely support the ICJ, and the very idea of wanting to crush the economy of your allies, whether it's Canada or whether it's Luxembourg or what have you, that may take a more enlightened view instead of the knuckle dragging view that's typical of the United States foreign policy, and the knuckle dragging view of Israel under Netanyahu. And a former friend of ours, will not mention his name, and who blocked me recently. He said he unblocked me. Basically made reference to Israeli quote unquote airstrikes at the ICJ, and I told him, how Myro berets of him. Anyway, the very fact that people, the people who claim to be the people who are strong supporters of Israel, they claim that they do this because some of them, they love that whole concept of the West. What Israel's doing to the Palestinians, it runs against all Western values. To me, there's nothing more anti-Western than what Netanyahu is doing against the Palestinians in Gaza. So fuck Lindsey Graham, fuck Sean Hannity, and fuck Benjamin Netanyahu. And I will say it again.
Yeah, I agree. One thing I will say, though, is that, I think Enlightenment values have always been this abstract standard in the West, but you could also argue that Israel is just an extension of every horrible idea that came out of the West as well, like colonialism, ethno-nationalism, just, the subjugation of people of color, in this case, by white European Jews instead of white European Christians, which was the historic norm. I watched an interesting documentary about Iraqi Jews a couple years ago, and some of them talked about how Israel was responsible for stirring up anti-Semitism in Iraq, and then so many of them got pogromed. And when they went to Israel, they said they felt they had more in common culturally with the Muslims, with the Arabs that lived there, than with the Jews. They thought the European Jews were actually European Christians. So yeah, you could say Israel is a repudiation of some of the professed ideals of the West, but it's also a manifestation of some of the West, however we define that's worst tendencies.
Yeah, I totally agree. And what happened to the Jewish people during the Holocaust, without question, was a horrible thing. But building a country on top of an existing society and actually stealing that society from them is not the way to repair an injustice that happened in Central Europe in the 1930s and 40s. There was going to be given land. I've always thought, especially in the last few years, that East Prussia, that is now northern Poland, that used to be part of Germany, you wanted to make that homeland, that would have been fine over there in East Prussia. That's now northern Poland. But on top of a society that did not have anything to do with what Hitler was doing against, the Jewish people, absolutely, just, the whole concept was a mistake, as it turned out, And,
yeah, I completely agree. And one thing I will add too is that as someone who is Jewish, I would say that I think Israel's entire conception of Judaism is fake. Because when I think about my cultural heritage, my ancestors, I think about how, you know, they spoke Yiddish. They came from Eastern Europe, and the tragic thing is, the Nazis during the Holocaust basically erased all of the beautiful Jewish culture that had thrived under oppression in Europe for 1,000 years, and just created this false identity that was false, I think, for the Middle Eastern Jews, but also false for my people, and it makes sense in a weird way, because I mean, a lot of Zionists worked with the Nazis in the run-up to World War II, and Zionist historical enemies had been Yiddish leftists and groups like the Jewish Labor Bund.
Yeah, the Jewish Labor Bund, an organization that people don't know too much about. A little historical fact tidbit here. You know that was with the Socialist Party USA. So in the early 1960s, the Socialist Party and the Jewish Labor Bund entered negotiations for a merger back then. And the merger didn't take place because the big issue was Israel. The Socialist Party, just like the Communist Party, just like a lot of people on the left decades ago, were Zionists and pro-Israel. And so was the Socialist Party. The Jewish Labor Bund from day one were anti-Zionist, and they wanted veto rights over the official SP stance on, at that time, over on the question of Israel, and that was just a no-go in the Socialist Party back then. I mean, yeah, and today's a different story. The Socialist Party, they fractured into 3 or 4 different organizations, so there's like a wide spectrum of views on Israel today, mostly anti-Israel, but yeah. Anyway, that's just a little historical tidbit to share with people about the Jewish Labor Bund, that they disbanded, I believe, in 2010. So in America, there's no more Jewish Labor Bund. They disbanded. They were one of the organizations, along with DSA, as a member of the Socialist International for many years.
Wow, that's really interesting, and I actually didn't even know that bit of history, but that is something I want to do more research into, because I think that really just disproves the Zionist claim that they just have, they represent all the world's Jews and they have a monopoly on political Judaism, which, in and of itself is a fucking anti-Semitic claim, that they claim to act in our name, and they want to pretend that Jewish anti-Zionism didn't exist. And I think that speaks to it more powerfully than anything. The idea that it was the Jewish left that was in, at least that faction of the Jewish left that was more radically anti-Zionist, than probably a lot of genteel leftists were at the time. And, it makes perfect sense, really, because Zionists, the same reason they draw a lot of support from Christian nationalists is because there is an anti-Semitic element for people who don't want Jews in their country. And I mean, I'm not a big fan of America either, but this is my country, Israel isn't, and I love New York, and I love all the things that, Zionists would erase. And it's just, I think more people need to know that history.
Yes, agreed. Actually, the worst or the most toxic element of Zionism is Christian Zionism. I find that to be the most repugnant, because they pretend to be concerned and love Jewish people, but they're really anti-Semitic, and what they really want at the end of the day is for Iran and Israel to toss nukes at each other and rush the end times. And I'll say this: fuck John Hagee and fuck Mike Huckabee and fuck what's his name, Peter Hegefs. And I think that's the next topic we're going to be discussing is the defense secretary position of Peter Hegseth. I think that's his name. But just like I said, fuck Sean Hannity, fuck Benjamin Netanyahu, and fuck Lindsey Graham. Fuck the Christian Zionists, the two that their motives are not good either. So anyway, so we'll start with the gray zone. Here we go. Alrighty. Whoops.
So Kamala on the Cheney family. What?
Actually, we'll play this and we'll get back to that one. This is from Ring of Fire, and we'll get to that story from the gray zone. I clicked on the wrong box. This is from the gray zone. This is from Ring of Fire. They're talking about what a mistake it was for Kamala Harris to cozy up to Dick and Liz Cheney. Okay, it's real short.
So Kamala on the Cheney family. What was that all about, and how bad did it hurt the Democrats? By the way, I love this spontaneous thing, because both of us have to read this every single day, and as I'm reading something, Farron, I'm thinking, I bet Farron's landing in the same place I am. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But what is Kamala and Cheney family a revival?
It drives me crazy, because over the last few days, obviously since the election, you've seen a lot of Democrats on social media saying the problem is the party went too far left. They embraced the Bernie Sanders stuff. First of all, no, they didn't. They didn't embrace anything of Bernie. Second of all, how can you say that a party that is campaigning on stage with Liz Cheney, touting the endorsement of torture memo Alberto Gonzalez, they went too far left? That is insane. It was insane for them to do it. You could have said, "Hey, listen, I'm glad you're going to vote for me. Don't ever talk to me.
Don't show up near me. Don't talk to me." It's like
when David Duke always endorses the Republican, and they usually say,
"Thank you,
bye."
Dave. But, okay, they didn't do that with
right, and I put them on the same level.
This is the family whose name is associated with the murder, the killing of 1 million people. Based on a lie, on a complete, utter lie about weapons of mass destruction, who was created by Dick Cheney, who, oh, by the way, little girl Cheney, said, "Daddy, you're such a hero. Wonderful move." This woman is nothing less than a war pimp. That's all she is.
And Democrats were sitting there waiting and for some reason hoping George W. Bush was going to come out and endorse Harris. They were almost disappointed that he didn't do it.
I know.
I don't know. I don't know how you come back from that. You do not embrace the same people that you were marching in the streets, calling war criminals, calling for them to be tried at The Hague, which these Democrats were doing because we covered it. Yep. We agreed with them. And then now they're saying, "Oh, no. These are our friends. These are the good Cheneys."
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. There's nothing that infuriates me more than Democrats pandering to neocons, than Democrats rehabilitating George W. Bush and Dick Cheney, war criminals who, I totally agree, should have been tried in The Hague. And what also I find mind-boggling is just how throughout the Trump era, Democrats would rehabilitate all these neocons that voted for Bush and McCain and Romney, talk about how Trump was a disgrace to conservatism. And I wanted to just shoot myself, because I think about how, during the Bush years on MSNBC, there were other conservatives who would say the same thing about Bush. So, I often think, what are we going to get in, another decade or so when, Mike Lindell, the pillow guy, is president, liberals being nostalgic for Trump? Because it's I feel like that's the most depressing thing. And, it undercuts all of the ways in which Harris could have won, which if she had just, continued championing unions and pointing to like Lena Khan at the Department of Labor. If she championed her Sean Fain endorsement, that would have gone a hell of a lot further in winning back working class voters for the Democrats than in courting Dick fucking Cheney, who everyone hates. And, you know, I honestly feel like she was just running as if she wanted to lose, you know, because, yeah, like people, I'll add one thing. I think people have this impression, have just become a socially liberal version of what the Republicans used to be. And I don't think that's quite true, because I think Democrats have actually gotten better on some economic issues, like on labor issues. But I understand why that perception exists, because when you spend all your time, you know, championing people like Liz and Dick Cheney, people who don't even care about the issues that liberals claim to care about. I mean, Liz Cheney is also extremely anti-choice. It undercuts any claim Democrats have that they've gotten better or more progressive in any other area.
You know, it's you know, I just thought of what you just said reminded me of a video that I like about, I hate Liz Cheney, but it's about Liz Cheney. And I don't know if you've ever seen it before, but it just occurred to me. It just occurred to me to share it with you. Have you ever heard of a content creator by the name of Turncoat Don?
It rings a bell, but I don't think I've ever seen his stuff.
Yeah, nobody knows who the hell he is in real life, but he makes a lot of political satire. Takes videos and you know, it kind of makes fun of the inconsistency. You know that people who are supposed to be on our sides, but they're not. They're becoming the very people that they would criticize years ago. And if I could find it, I would love to share this and get your take on it. Let's see if I can find it real quick. Right there. Okay. All right. Let me go ahead and get this here. The audience know who Turncoat. A lot of people know who Turncoat Don is in this audience. So it's called Wonder Woman. So I'll play it right there here for you.
All right.
Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman, in your satin tights, fighting for your rights, and the old flags white and blue.
If the Democrats prevail, we will not have an economic recovery. You and I know the damage Barack Obama has done to our beloved state and nation. In Congress, I'll lead the fight to reverse President Obama's devastating policies. Bernie Sanders, AOC, Joe Biden, they are advocating the quicksand of socialism. They will absolutely sink and devastate this nation. Representative Omar embodies a vile, hate-filled, anti-Semitic, anti-Israel bigotry.
I am strongly pro-life, and I am not pro-gay marriage, said Cheney Friday.
I do believe in the traditional definition of marriage. And I think that, you know, the North Koreans and others around the world have seen that President Trump is somebody who's going to do what he says he's going to do, and he's going to keep his word. I will do everything I can to ensure that the former president never again gets anywhere near the Oval Office.
Wonder Woman!
Waterboarding is not torture.
So, what do you think?
That was pretty funny, and I think that captured it well. Did you see the movie Dick with Christian Bale?
I have not.
Oh, it was a good movie, good biopic of Dick Cheney, and yeah, I thought of that movie because in it shows how her own sister is a lesbian who was outraged at her when she campaigned against gay marriage. She campaigned against her own sister, and that just to me shows just what a low life, just scumbag she is on so many levels, that she cares more about power than even her own family. So the fact that Democrats would embrace her just because she doesn't like Trump just really shows the level of integrity they have, which is to say none at all.
Well, here's the thing. Even on LGBTQ, surprisingly, Dick Cheney, that's probably one of the few areas where he's actually gotten better. Because his other daughter, Mary, I think the other daughter's the lesbian.
Yeah, Mary.
Mary Cheney. In that movie, I did see the clip from the movie where he's talking to George W. Bush when George W. Bush was asking him to be his VP, and he said something about, well, I have a daughter, and it's a very delicate situation, and it was just kind of like, hands off of her for what she is, basically, and they were sort of trying to. I guess if I remember correctly, they were sort of negotiating that, well, in certain areas of the country, he may use this lingo, but he's not going to go and make it the centerpiece or something like that. It was something along those lines. I seem to remember watching the clip. I do know about the movie when you brought it up now. I actually would like to see the movie. But I still think that Dick Cheney, he killed over 1 million people, and that's kind of a bad thing. So
yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad he's gotten a little more enlightened on certain issues, but but she remained bad all the way across the board. I mean, she voted with Trump 93% of the time.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you familiar with a podcast called Mike from PA?
Mike from PA. Yeah, I've heard of it. I haven't listened, though.
I think he worked with Sam Cedar years. I mean, I don't think that he's doing as much as he used to, but I think he was trying to make a go at it. But he made a comment one day, and it was just like, maybe the 7% of the time that she voted against Trump was probably issues where Trump was more liberal,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and so it was just kind of I mean, I for the life of me don't understand how they sit there, in the words of Breonna Joy Gray again, bump fists with the Cheneys, the Harris campaign. How in the world they could do that? And then they didn't want Bernie Sanders anywhere near them, near the Harris-Walz campaign. But, hey, everybody, look, Dick and Liz Cheney loves me now. I'm like, it makes me 100,000,000% glad I voted for Jill Stein. Because my vote for Jill Stein did not affect the election in North Carolina in any way, shape, or form. In fact, it didn't do anything. I mean, if I remember correctly, I think the Greens outdid the Libertarians this time.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and interestingly, I believe Kamala, not Kamala, I believe Jill Stein actually won a few precincts in Dearborn, Michigan. I don't know if that's for sure, but I believe so.
That is correct. That is correct. So, anyway, I mentioned we were going to talk about the Gray Zone video on Peter Hegseth's. So I guess we'll jump with that story then. So here we go.
And this was a guy who was a never Trumper before he realized that Trump was the path to power, and he was courted by the most extreme factions within the Israel lobby. We're talking now about Trump's nominee for Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, who wrote a book on becoming how to be an American crusader. And this is him in Jerusalem at an event sponsored partly by Ateret Kohanim, which is the group that raises money from the U.S. and around the world to colonize East Jerusalem, areas like Silwan, where Palestinians face violent home demolitions, and to eject people from their homes, indigenous Palestinians, and just put Jewish settlers in hours later. And he was taken on a tour of the most extreme settlements in the occupied West Bank. And he says one of the craziest things an American politician has ever said about Israel. I mean, there's a lot of competition because they're all competing to all.
Hold on a second. I don't know what's going. Okay, I don't know why it's buffering, but it's buffering. Let's see if it works now. Come on. You know what I'm tempted to do? We should go back to the story in a few minutes.
All right.
Sometimes these videos they'll buffer, and we'll let it do its thing, and you know we'll just come back to it in a few minutes, and we'll go with the next story. Sorry about that.
No worries.
I don't want to sit there and play with the computer all day long, you know.
Yeah, understandable.
We all know how evil Debbie Wasserman Schultz is. I guess that, you know, no introduction to that. Anyway, Jen Perlman, she has have you ever seen her podcast, Generational Change, Joey?
I don't think I have, no, but I'm familiar with Jen Perlman, and I've seen her interviewed on other shows before, and you know, including yours actually, and I'm a fan of hers.
Yeah, she rocks. I like Jen. Anyway, here she is with Peter, and she's interviewing Steve Grumbine on basically what people are talking about now, about Bernie hinting at a third party. And this is sort of like a prelude. So I think what they have to say is a little more relevant, because we know we've been hearing around Bernie Sanders talking about a third party again, which I have a lot to say about that as well. So we'll go ahead and play this video and I guess get a little bit of a discussion out of it.
This was Bernie's interview on Meet the Press yesterday morning, so here's what he had to say.
Well, as you know, your statement was met with some sharp reaction as well. This is what Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi had to say. Take a look. I'll get your reaction on the other side.
Speaker Emerita.
Bernie Sanders has not won. Let me, with all due respect, and I have a great deal of respect for him, for what he stands for, but I don't respect him saying that the Democratic Party has abandoned the working class families.
All
that Botox.
Well, if the richest member of the Democratic Party,
I want to put her
says
trading
that,
numbers. I want to put her current insider trading numbers up there right now.
It's got to be true, Steve. I mean, she would definitely know a thing or two living in Pacific Heights, San Francisco, California. Let me tell you, really in touch with the regular person.
Senator, how do you respond to Nancy Pelosi?
Well, Nancy's a friend of mine, and we've worked together on many issues. But
Bernie, who gives a
fuck on many issues? We're good friends.
Oh my God.
I can't even listen to it. It's like, can I take my headphones out so I don't have to
It's
hear
horrible.
God.
No, it's horrible. But I'll show you
reality,
something.
I have to say to Nancy, in the Senate in the last 2 years, we have not even brought forth legislation to raise the minimum wage to a living wage, despite the fact that some 20 million people in this country are working for less than $15 an hour.
It breaks my heart
in
every
America
time I hear
today,
him
we have
talk.
not brought, in the Senate, we have not brought to the floor the PRO Act to make it easier for workers to join unions. We're not talking about defined benefit pension plans so that our elderly can retire with security. We're not talking about lifting the cap on Social Security
so that we can extend the solvency of Social Security. And
He's Nick resistant. He's Nick resistant.
He is absolutely and fighting for you. I think the overwhelming answer is no, and that is what has got to change.
So I want to show you something, Steve. So just so we're all aware, I did buy this deck of war criminal playing cards. It's a fundraiser, guys. It does help people in Palestine. It's genocide since 1948, war criminals. And guys, it's at thewarcriminals.com. And as you can see, Bernie Sanders is one of the jokers. So he is in fact in here. The other joker is Obama. So I'm just saying. But anyway, it's a whole deck of war criminals, folks. It's global, so no country should feel left out.
Freedom House says that's bullshit. Bernie shifted the Overton window. Listen.
Yes, he did.
He did.
Yes, he
but
did.
But remember, it's easy to stand on a soapbox and say these things. It's another thing to actually take action when you need to. Remember,
he played the Mick resistance role and he did shift the window.
They 1,000% had an opportunity. We preached it here on the podcast, even though a lot of people were trying to push back. We said that they absolutely should have forced the vote on Medicare for all. If there was going to be consequences, so be it. But you had to back them into a corner and say, we don't actually support the policies that we claim to support. And so now what's going to happen, Steve, is I'm sure you would agree, Bernie is going to try to gin up support for the Democratic Party again. He's going to try to get candidates to get up on the soapbox themselves and say, this is why we lose and this is why we need this. And then the same thing will happen in the midterms. The Democrats will gain some seats. They'll act like they're going to do something. And then we're going to still sit idly by while nothing gets done again and again and again.
Right.
Look, I'm just telling you straight up. I mean, we can go through this rigmarole. I know that there's a lot of people. Like I mean, I got tape.
With you. I think it's
years
silly.
of tape.
It's
what's that?
I'm with you. The whole thing is silly. Like I don't believe. Like we're really just watching like professional wrestling, and it's so silly. It's
right.
I don't know how anyone takes any of it seriously.
I remember sitting there crying on live stream, like. Grumbine shitlib right there. Shitlib Grumbine. I mean, I was in full shitlib mode when Bernie lost the first time, when he conceded. There's a video of me and people call me cuck and all kinds of shit. Deservedly so at this point, right? But I was genuinely bought in. And like, honestly, it took a lot to separate myself from that, okay? And what I'm trying to say when it comes to things like what Bernie's saying, right? This is a pitched battle. There's nothing coming from it. Everyone wanted them to stop killing everybody. I mean, around the world, people are calling like if the U.S. didn't step in the way, the ICJ would have put Israel in the toilet. It would have done something hard. Like they were ready to put them to court. They were ready to take them down, but the U.S. stepped in. Right, which is another shit show. The UN cannot be reformed. NATO should be dissolved. All these things should happen. We should have ranked choice voting, guys. We should. But who's going to put that in? The Republicans and Democrats are going to voluntarily give up their power because that's not how this mock, trial works. Okay, this isn't real. You're not doing that. You're not defeating them in their system. And this is the painful thing because then you have to ask like that, the Chinese fast food drive up lady and dude, where's my car? And he goes, yeah, I want some fried rice and then I'll take water and then you put it in a bag and hand it to me and then you got to keep asking and then. People don't want to ask and then. They're like, I got my I voted sticker right here on my forehead, and I've done my duty. I am a good American. I voted. I'm a good liberal. I've done my thing. You can't buy. What are you talking about? What do you want? Tiny hands to win? What do you want? Rump or T-rump or what are the loser things that they say? I mean, you're a puppet. You're this. I mean, on and on and on.
Totally call me king. You can call me king. I'll be king for a day. or a few days.
If you can't vote your way out of this, I want you to think about this. There's some sayings out there, and I'm sure the crowd can answer me. But when you cannot allow people to peacefully protest, when their voices of the people screaming out are ignored, guess what's left over? And people don't want to talk about it because it has to happen outside of the electoral process. Sorry, you guys that love working in parties. I'm going to create a 58th party and a 274th party and 9 millionth party. The system is run by two private corporations, Democrats, Republicans. They control the debates. They control everything. Okay. In this system, in this little ecosphere, they control everything. They control the media. The media is like a lapdog that says whatever they want. There is no real media anymore. It is pure Leni Riefenstahl style propaganda. And at the end of the day, the only way out is to unplug and organize. I mean, you know, it's easy to call on the names of people like Fred Hampton. It's easy to call on, you know, the old things that we thought we knew, the 60s and 70s and the communist revival and so many things that went on over the course of our history. But they have done everything they can to kill and quell any form of worker unity, worker solidarity. They've done everything they can to make us feel like we are powerless because we have to deal with their version of the world. And people are so lacking curiosity, so unwilling to ask and to think about what could happen, what we could do, right? I've been saying for anybody that's listened to me on Status Quo, I guarantee you've heard me say this. You've heard me say it on this channel too. We must build parallel systems. We must build dual power. We must do this outside of the electoral process without any daddy Bernie Sanders, without any Mama Bear Pelosi's, without any AOCs ready to sell us out, without any of that shit. And it needs to be focused on workers united. It needs to be citizens united for real, like a real citizens movement, a movement of people, okay? And until we do that, as long as we allow the D and the R to define who we are as people, and eliminate us from talking amongst each other, there will never be that. And the other thing that's really important, it is so important to have an understanding, a theoretical framework of understanding capitalism, not just fascism that we throw around like a fucking tin can. I mean, really, truly understand capitalism, understand state capitalism, which is the merger of corporate and state power. And that is fascism. Okay, and that is what we have right now.
We already have it.
Yeah, right. Before Donald Trump, anyway. But until people are willing to stop just suckling on the sugar, suckling on the gummy bears, okay, and start going in for the real meat and potatoes and digging in. And I'm telling you, it may not start with 1 million people. It may only be 20 people, 30 people, 50 people, 100 people. It needs to build from a nucleus, a strong nucleus of people that understand and can express and train people up. Because right now what's happening is we're splintered into 1 million tiny little fragments. And there's always these little cool kids clubs that are very exclusionary, very uneducated, by the way, but they have the power, they have the momentum. And this is what has happened, is this kind of anti-intellectualism that has taken over. And it's because the intellectuals in power have lied to us nonstop. Okay? The Constitution, I know it's very important. The Constitution was written by wealthy white slave owners. It was not meant for we the people. The people out of doors is you and I. When they talk about the people out of doors, they're not talking about just slaves. They're talking about everyone other than the moneyed class. The landowners, okay? There was no real revolution for us in this country. There was no U.S. revolution. It was a bourgeois rich people said, I don't want to pay the tithe to the crown anymore. I'm here, man. This is mine. I'm the king here now, okay? And if you read your Howard Zinn, you'll learn a lot about this. And you can go deeper and deeper in that rabbit hole if you're willing to. But it's important to really understand that there's nothing about this system. There's nothing about the people in power There's nothing about the ruse that's pulled over us that is reformable. It's simply not reformable. And you can try till the cows come home, but there's a million parliamentarians, there's a million bulwarks against popular support, against populism of any variety. And if you think this was a mistake, I want you to think about this. January 6th was a bunch of freaking misguided fools.
Right.
Some of them were probably racist. Some of them were probably white nationalists. Some of them were probably blah, blah, blah. But there was a great many people that were just completely misguided, misled, ignorant as hell. But what they did was they went ahead and they stormed the Capitol, and everybody's calling them an insurrectionist. Now, I know it's easy because you hate Trump so much, and I hate him too. But I hate them all, so it's just no big deal to me.
Right.
What I'm saying to you is that if the left or the working class got together and decided it was going to send million people, that thing that happened on January 6th was preemptive. It was intended to say, hey, now we have cause to crack down and create all these laws to prevent the left from ever doing this. Okay? It's so unfortunate because there's people screaming,
right. The people on the left that were so happy with that were thinking that's so great that we shut that shit down. And I'm like, was it though? Was it?
All I could think about was if we ever really truly wanted to stop a genocide, what level will we be willing to go to make our government stop doing it?
Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, a few. First of all, I do agree with him about the need to build dual power structures. I agree that activism and organizing has to take place outside the context of elections. However, I don't think it's really fair or charitable the way he bashes on Bernie, bashes on AOC, people who may be flawed but are still better than 95, 96% of the people in Congress. And, you know, just like I don't think elections in and of themselves are an end, I would also say, respond to him similarly and say, and then what after the organizing? Like, I have a problem with this style where I feel like, or just his, I've heard this kind of argument before, and I feel like it's fundamentally contradictory. Like, he talks about how the system is just designed to crush any populist movement, any popular movement, and it's just impossible for us to make change, which, I mean, there's evidence to suggest that's true, but what I don't get is why he thinks, like, only organizing will work either, because, I mean, I think, you know, you need an inside-outside strategy, and that doesn't make me a DNC hack or anything, and I also... You know, I have to say, I think there are some leftists who have just been so brain poisoned by arguing with liberals that they throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like, I'm sorry, Trump is a fucking fascist. He opened his campaign by calling immigrants a virus. I mean, he held a literal fucking Nazi rally at Madison Square Garden and, you know, spent the entire campaign demonizing trans people, you know, and advocating for mass deportation. I know Democrats have been bad too, but I just think there's something really fucking glib about this type of activist that just mocks anyone who's anti-Trump as if, you know, it's all just some like pussy hat lib bullshit, because most true leftists hate the liberal Karen types just as much as they do. We just recognize that, yes, Trump is a fascist. That's not the problem. The problem is that liberals have been completely ineffective in fighting him. And yeah, you know, I'm sorry, but January 6th was a fucking insurrection, and it was a fascist coup, and there were people in that crowd with shirts saying bring back Auschwitz. Like, I don't think we can be fucking glib about that, because people like that are the enemies of the left, and most actual leftist organizers, most actual anarchists who also have no use for liberals will you know, will point out that that are they're the ones that go directly into battle with fascists. So I just feel like people like this just also fail to see the larger picture. And I don't know, honestly, I found his rant just a bit condescending. Like, yeah, we've all heard Howard's in. I'm sorry, it just to me sounded like, you know, a college sophomore who's just read his first Chomsky book and thinks he knows everything.
This is how I look at it. Where I stand on January 6th, I literally laugh because I know that they were in no position they could not take over the government like they thought they were going to. I also laugh at people on the right who claim that all the people that were orchestrating January 6th, they were just a bunch of Black Lives Matter and Antifa people dressed up as Trump supporters to make us all look bad. No, y'all don't need any help in looking bad. There's nothing that Antifa and Black Lives Matter could do to make those yahoos look bad because they are doing a damn good job with their rhetoric. I do think that some people that were involved with January 6th, they were there to go rah, 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 and go back home. They were led in there. They got their emotions caught up. There's a lot of people who are pieces of shit that I absolutely despise and hate because, frankly, they think that you and I and our audience here, they probably think we should all die because we have a different opinion. So there is a legitimate fascist element in there. But I didn't take the coup that seriously because it was so silly. It was so silly, and because I know what would have happened if there would have been any success. The military would have come in there and take over, and we would be under martial law until things get back to normal. They're not going to let these 3%ers and militia types take over the government. So it was even stupid for those right-wingers to even, the ones who are literally trying to recreate the Turner Diaries, Day of the Rope, what have you, because I saw that big old ass noose that they had out there, like hanging people, wanting to hang people. They wouldn't have been able to make that happen because I think that we are such a powder keg society. I know I'm not going to be taking orders from some shaman motherfucker with body paint all over him.
That clown, yeah.
That clown. I mean, yeah, I mean, it just I don't know. But what I do agree with him is we need to create alternative institutions, the alternative power, to try to undermine, by mutual, I would say mutual aid, so when if there's a strike, the people who are striking, they don't have to financially suffer during the strike. That's a great way to do mutual aid, that sort of thing. I think that's kind of what he's calling for. He's frustrated, in my opinion. So am I. And liberals are frustrating because, like one person said, I don't know who said it earlier, says scratch a liberal and you'll find a conservative. And that's what the Democratic Party is for the most part. Bernie, AOC, what have you. Bernie had the answer to the rail strike. He proposed a bill that will give 7 sick leave days to the workers. And when that bill was submitted to the U.S. House of Representatives, AOC voted against a Bernie Sanders bill. That's what really turned me against her right there. It was bad enough she didn't do force to vote, but when she started doing that, I'm just like, really?
Yeah, I do agree that was a huge disappointment. And yeah, I mean, I'm completely with you on the fact that liberals are feckless, but I would argue that if anything, and I guess this is my disagreement with people like that who just tend to think liberals are too obsessed with Trump. I mean, I think if anything, they let Trump off the hook too easily. Like, if you want to talk about January 6th, I mean, honestly, I think Trump should have been put in jail for inciting that, and like an actual leftist government would have cracked down on reactionaries harder. I mean, I'm not a fan of authoritarianism or any kind of authoritarian state, but let's be real. They're going to come after the left either way. And if, the state occasionally wants to throw the books at some actual fascists, I mean, maybe we disagree on this and that's fine, but I'm okay with that. And I just think that, like, I think I already made my point, but I guess in the larger sense, I do agree that we need to build parallel power structures. And, I think he's a bit too cynical, though, because, I mean, I think to some degree that is happening. I mean, I'm plugged into anarchist networks. I, have been involved in DSA in the past, and DSA has done a lot of good community organizing. They could do a lot more, but, the system is obviously very powerful, and it's hard. So, I guess I don't have any easy answers.
None of us do. None of us got the easy answers. If they were easy, we'd be discussing something else. But I think, like for example, I think that it was dumb to suspend Trump's account from Twitter, but allow him to run for president. I think they had an opportunity to say he's not allowed to run for president again. They had an opportunity, and I would have been fine with that. I would have been fine with lawfully not allowing Trump to run for president in 2024. He can keep his damn Twitter account, and he can sit there and sound like a knuckle-dragging Neanderthal all day long, for all I care. But he should not have been allowed. But here's this: liberals created Trump, just as the liberals created birtherism. They also created Trump, because Hillary Clinton and Sidney Blumenthal, Max's dad, created the birther conspiracy theory back in 2008 that the right-wing people, including Trump, started using. And the Clintons were still friends with the Trumps. And in 2015, I really believe there was some kind of golf game where Bill and Donald were playing golf, and he'd be like, "Hey, Donald, I'm not saying you should run for president, but if you were to run for president and run against my wife Hillary, I think that I think you could be a very wealthy man, wealthier, probably 4 times more wealthy than you are right now, because she knows the system pretty well." I think that was probably what happened.
I have to say, you do an incredible Bill Clinton impression. That was perfection.
Actually, I could do a mean Mitch McConnell impression, too.
Oh, let's hear it.
All right. Oh, it's too bad. My friend Warren that was here, he's on another podcast right now. He loves it when I do an impression of Mitch McConnell. I'm Mitch McConnell, and I'm an asshole. I'm Mitch McConnell. I'm
That's
an
great.
asshole. Great. Yeah. I'm an out-of-touch Republican Kentucky oligarch. Yeah. Yeah, so
I love it.
I don't know how to do a Donald Trump impression. Other people can do it. I could never. That's why you don't ever see me do Donald Trump impressions. I just don't have that knack of sounding like the orange puffy Frito. So I played this the other day on a video that I took down because I was having audio issues, and we'll go into Max Blumenthal and Aaron Maté in a second. But I'm going to play a little snip from this video here. Because it was so damn funny. Speaking of Bernie Sanders, let me go back to the beginning here.
Understand that while President Biden has some very significant accomplishments.
Let me go back to the beginning. I'm sorry. Hold on.
Like what, Bern? What are those?
Let me go back to the beginning.
In case you haven't heard, there's an election coming up this November, and it's the most important election in the modern history of our country.
Bernie, no! Bernie, no! No! Why, Bernie? Why? Why? I do not want to hear that sentence from you. I've heard that sentence spoken by partisan nitwits every single election cycle of my life. It's such a cliche that this next election is the most important election ever. And to hear you not just say it, but open with it just kills me, Bernie. It kills me dead. Bernie, no. Et tu, Bernie. Oh, no. No. Why, Bernie? Why?
Now,
Yeah, I just thought that was funny.
I thought that was funny too. It was great physical comedy.
Yeah, and that's how I feel sometimes when I hear somebody say, "This is the most important election of our lifetime," and just the fascism is here. Trump is not going to make it less fascist, but the fascism is here. And it was started. I'm not saying it was started by Biden. It was, or Obama or what have you. The turn toward authoritarianism goes back to after 9/11, the Bush-Cheney response. All the authoritarianism that surrounds us in America these days goes back to those two motherfuckers, George W. Bush and Dick Cheney. And each president made it a little bit worse.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. And that, goes to show one of the depressing things about politics is how over the past 20 years or so, both sides have basically given up on having any kind of principled civil libertarian agenda. Obviously, some Democrats pretended to oppose the Patriot Act and torture under Bush. Then Obama gets in, they abandon it. And then briefly, the Tea Party opportunistically pretended they were fucking libertarians and they cared about it. But then Trump got in and they revealed their authoritarianism too. So it's just kind of depressing that now we basically have like a universal consensus that we have to live in, a state where the TSA gropes you, where we have torture, where we just murder civilians, we drone civilians because there's one terrorist in the general geographic area. And that's why I really, was heavily critical of Obama when he was president. I actually voted for Joe Stein in 2012 because I was pissed at Obama about Libya and just about the fact that he'd completely gone back on everything he campaigned on in 2008 in terms of, wanting to reform the NSA and, improve civil liberties. He's just a big fucking phony.
They held that against him, that some of the civil libertarian talk of Obama in 2008, the right wing held that against them, and then they're like, well, why aren't you being quote unquote civil libertarian? When that's exactly he did exactly what they wanted him to do. So just and even Obama himself bragged that in the 1980s he would have been a 1980s moderate Ronald Reagan Republican. And there's no in the 1980s. That's what he is now.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's what the Democratic Party became.
Back in the days when he was reading Foucault to try to pick up bisexual girls at Columbia.
Yeah, there you go. But as I said, the people a lot of these people who believe that Obama's this secret Kenyan-born Muslim, they're too stupid to realize who created the conspiracy theory. It was Hillary Clinton, and the very same person who worked with Trump to rig the GOP primary. They were busy rigging it against Bernie Sanders. I have no love for Hillary Clinton. I have no love. So
yeah, she's awful.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll play this one video. Hopefully we won't have any buffering on this one. This is from the gray zone once again.
All right.
This was a guy who was a never Trumper before he realized that Trump was the path to power, and he was courted by the most extreme factions within the Israel lobby. We're talking now about Trump's nominee for defense secretary, Pete Hegseth, who wrote a book on becoming how to be an American crusader. And this is him in Jerusalem at an event sponsored partly by Ateret Kohanim, which is the group that raises money from the U.S. and around the world to colonize East Jerusalem, areas like Silwan, where Palestinians face violent home demolitions, and to eject people from their homes, indigenous Palestinians, and just put Jewish settlers in hours later. And he was taken on a tour of the most extreme settlements in the occupied West Bank. And he says one of the craziest things an American politician has ever said about Israel. I mean, there's a lot of competition because they're all competing all these American politicians are all competing to be Netanyahu's Shabbos Goy. Not that he observes the Sabbath, but you know what I'm saying. Listen to what he had to say.
And today, Jennifer and I and others had a chance to go see the Western Wall of the Temple Mount, the Western Wall tunnels, so much of the old city. And as you stand there, you can't help but behold the miracle before you. And it got me thinking about another miracle that I hope all of you don't see too far away. Because 1917 was a miracle. 1948 was a miracle. 1967 was a miracle. 2017, the declaration of Jerusalem as the capital was a miracle. And there's no reason why the miracle of the reestablishment of the temple on the Temple Mount is not possible.
I mean, that's apocalypse talk right there. He's basically calling for the destruction of the third holiest site in Islam and the construction of the third Jewish temple. He's endorsing the agenda of the most extreme factions of Netanyahu's coalition government, which is the most fanatical government in Israel's history. And you rarely hear someone who has any influence on a national level in U.S. politics going that far that I can remember.
We're kind of running short on time here because I got to go to work in a little bit. But what's your take on this motherfucker for Secretary of Defense?
I think that's fucking terrifying. Especially given the rising tensions between Israel and Iran. I worry that he could lead us into a nuclear war. And I have to say, I did a double take for a second, not to be too cheeky, but when he was talking about the miracle of 1917, I was thinking for a second, wait a minute, is this the wrong clip? Is this some tanky? But no, it's just a lunatic Zionist. And yeah, he does terrify me.
Yeah, he is terrifying. He is terrifying. This is the kind of, and having Mike Huckabee as ambassador to Israel, and having people like John Hagee around someone like Trump. These evangelicals, Christian nationalist type. It's absolutely just insane. It's like, can we make things more insane than it is currently? And we're getting there.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, we're getting there. And I'm just hoping, since we're stuck with Orange Man, I'm hoping he has a John Bolton moment with some of these motherfuckers and fired them for hurting his ego.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just hoping that maybe they accidentally step on his toes. You're fired. I don't know if that was a good impression of Trump or not, but
it was good. And I would say that I think that's definitely going to happen with Musk because, with those two egos, it's just inevitable. They're not going to be able to get along for long.
Oh, I've heard that Trump is getting tired of saying, I can't get rid of him. So it's going to be, I'm going to root for Trump on that one. I hate Elon Musk that bad. On that one, I'm going to root for him steamrolling over Elon Musk. Because that motherfucker needs some humility in his life.
I could see Trump ordering him deported to South Africa.
Yeah. So anyway, makes me glad I'm on Blue Sky. I'm staying on Twitter, by the way. I'm not leaving Twitter. Elon Musk, his rubbery face is going to have to kick me out of Twitter. So that's where I stand on that. As I said, I have to go to work in a short while. Do you have any final words?
I would just say to everyone, stay strong, keep fighting, and don't lose hope.
Absolutely, and I will talk to everybody here on the chat line, but I have to go to work, so I'll make the closing remarks, and I do need to talk to you real quick before I do go to work. If you like what you heard, please press like and comment. Comment any way you disagree with what I have to say. Feel free to share any content I have on the Willy Bragg Show channel and Braggland channel. Also, remember to subscribe to the Willy Bragg Show. Subscribe to Braggland on all the channels, and that's available because I'm on multiple platforms now. And also remember this. To free and pardon Ed Snowden, fully pardon Julian Assange, free Palestine, free health care for all, and free speech. Don't let them take away our free speech. So, Joey, you're going to have to come back again on our show here.
Yeah, I think so too. This was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So, I will be doing a live stream, presumably at 2:00 tomorrow afternoon. It might be a drunken live stream. We don't know yet. So I will talk to everybody soon. Y'all take care. Bye-bye.